Hey, welcome back. Hope you've enjoyed the last two tutorials that I've put out, either on Facebook or YouTube or on the live session, wherever you're watching them. I hope you're enjoying them. If you are, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, my Facebook page, on Instagram. They do go live there as well. So if you're enjoying them and you're liking the tutorials and the lessons, like and subscribe. That really helps me out. Today we're going to be learning another card trick. It's a card trick invented by a Canadian magician. He's no longer with us, but his name was Di Vernon. He was born in Toronto. And this is a really great trick. It can be done with a borrowed deck. It's impromptu, there's no setup involved, and it will blow your friends and family away if you can learn it and the sleights involved in performing it. So let's have a look at it. So you have your deck of cards. This can be a borrowed deck of cards, and then I'd have someone select a card. For now, we'll just go with the 7 of clubs. So they have their 7 of clubs. You can have them sign it if you want or not, but then you have them return it to the deck and let them know that there are so many ways you can mix up a deck. You can cut it like so, you can cut it to the table, you can shuffle if you know how to overhand shuffle. You could shuffle it like so a couple of times, doesn't matter how many times, but the worst way one could shuffle a deck probably, because it messes things up more than just, cards being in a different order, is backwards and forwards. So you have cards going up and you have cards going down. You have a huge mess of cards. There's no really easy way to fix that, unless you're of course a magician. So you can see that we have cards face up and face down, face up and face down. We even have cards that are back to back in some cases, all over the place like so. But with a snap of the fingers, you can take all those cards and turn them right side up, except for that one selected card, the 7 of clubs. So now that you've seen the performance, there's a couple of things we need to learn how to do. The first is the shuffle that makes it all look like it's being mixed up, front to back and back to front, when in reality that's not really what you're doing. So this is called the slop shuffle. And all you're doing is putting the cards, so say you have half the deck face up, half the deck face down. When you're done, that's the state you'll be in. So you have cards, half the deck going down, half the deck going up, and that makes it really easy for you to figure out where you need to break the cards to put everything back in order. So how you do this is just push off a couple of cards, 5 or 6 cards at a time, turn them, push some more cards off, again 5 or 6 cards, flip it back, do the same thing. So you can kind of see now that you know what it's going to end up looking like. You can kind of see how that happens. You're just putting cards, obviously those cards are facing that way, I'm just adding to that pile. These cards are facing this way, and again I'm adding that pile. From the top, you can see how that can be pretty tricky, especially if you're moving at a good pace. Once you're ready to write everything, this is where having a pack of cards that you use quite a bit comes in handy, because you'll notice that they have a natural bow to them. You can see there how they, going face up there's an arc up, and down here there's an arc towards the bottom, and that makes it really easy to cut to that section and be able to flip everything over, so now they're all going the same way. So that's the slop shuffle, and that's one of the components to this trick that you'll need to know how to do fairly smoothly to make this trick work. So now that we know how the slop shuffle works, we'll move on to how the rest of the trick works. So you'll have someone select a card, obviously we'll just use the Jack of Diamonds in this case, and then you have them return it to the deck. So you cut off a small portion of the deck, I guess about half the deck, and have them put it on top of the pile. Now, when you put this pile back, you're going to hold what we call a pinky break. This is a pretty exaggerated version of that. Generally, lost it. Generally, it'll be quite small, but as you get better at holding a pinky break, you'll be able to figure out how to hold one nicely and not show the whole world that you actually are not closing the deck of cards fully. So you just accomplish that by letting the skin of your pinkies kind of hang out inside the deck there, and hold the break. that's above their selected card. So you have a break above their selected card, like so. Now I like to make the presentation about shuffling and how there's a lot of different ways you can mix up a deck, and that gives me a reason to cut the deck, because what I'm doing is controlling their card to the top of the deck. Okay, we're first going to control it to the top, and then with a shuffle we're going to control it to the bottom, so the card's moving around. It looks quite fair. So from this break, I'm going to do what we call an undercut. I'm going to grab the whole deck holding that break with my thumb, so this is now a thumb break. So from the pinky to the thumb, like so, and I'm going to do what we call an undercut, and that just is taking about half the bottom pile, moving it to the top, and then dropping the rest of the cards from the bottom and moving those to the top, and that has controlled that selected card to the top of the pile. So that's the next step. From here, we're going to do an overhand shuffle, and this really is mixing up the entire deck aside from that one card. We are going to have that card, their selected card, move to the bottom. So we're just going to swipe off one card and then shuffle the rest of the deck normally on the top. If you want to do this more than once, you can do this move where we pinch the back card and the top card together. So when we pull off, we're pulling off two cards, that card stays on the bottom, and we can shuffle more of the deck. You know, not necessary, one time should be good enough, but if it's your presentation, that's what you want to do, go for it. And you can do that as many times as you want. You can pull that bottom card off 600 times if you wanted to. So from here, their cards on the bottom now, and this is where we go into the slop shuffle. So that shuffle that you learned, pushing cards, and I just say this is one of the worst ways you could probably mix up a deck, because it makes it very difficult to find the card, because there's cards going up, there's cards going down, there's cards every which way. So that's the presentation. So now when you get to the last card, instead of flipping and putting it on the bottom face down, you're going to just move it to the top. So now the position that you're in is their selected card on top face down, all the face up cards, and then all the face down cards. Okay, if you want, this is more of an advanced move, but once you're done, you can turn that bottom card over. So then the position you're in is their card on top face down, all the face up cards, all the face down, and one face up on the bottom. The reason you can do this is because showing this all messed up like so is another just convincer. It kind of shows that there's cards face up, face down all the way through, instead of just being able to show it in the next step with the breaks. So when you're squaring up, to fix this bottom card, because you need it to turn, square up and just flip it over. And really, the cards are mixed up anyway. There shouldn't be any worry about why you're flipping one card over, but if you can do it secretly, do it. If not, that's totally fine. The next step is to take the cards and show that you have face down and face up cards. You have face up into face down. So you see how those are different. We're showing face up, face down cards like so. We have face up cards there. And then this is the easy part, because their card's right on the top. So this is where we're going to make all the cards go the right way aside from theirs. We're going to break it where there's the cards that are back to back. Now when we've had a break in the past, we've put it back the exact same way we're taking it off. In this case, we're going to break it back to back, and we're going to put it back upside down. Okay, so what that puts us in the position where all the cards are going the same way aside from their selected card, which should be somewhere in the center. Okay, pull that out. If it's signed, you can prove that it's the same card. If not, you can have them look at the deck, because there should be only one Jack of Diamonds in there anyway. And that's the trick. So here's just an up-close explanation. We'll just use the Jack of Diamonds again as their selected card. So they've selected their card, they've signed it or not, and then they place it back inside the deck. Okay, so then you're going to pop that pile on top, holding your break there. Obviously, again, as you get better, it will be a smaller break, but for now, you can see that their card's right here, and I have a pinky break above it. Okay, then we're going to go into the undercut, so I'm going to transfer this whole thing thumb break like so. And I'm going to do the undercut. I'm going to move some cards to the top and then the rest of the cards to the top, which brings their card to the top of the deck. Then I'm going to do the overhand shuffle. I'm going to peel off one card, their card, and then shuffle the rest of the cards fairly on top. And again, if you want, you can do that pinch move where you pinch bottom and top cards off and shuffle the rest of the cards. Now you're in the position with their card on the bottom and you're ready to go into the slop shuffle. So a couple of cards off like so, back and forth like that until you get to their card, which goes on top, face down. Okay, so now you're in this position where you have half the cards face up, half the cards face down, and their card on top. And again, if you want, you can do that move where you flip that bottom one over and you can show quite a mess of the cards like that, face up and face down, square it up, and move that card on the bottom just back to that position. Not necessary, but as you get better with the trick, it's more convincing if you want to do that. Now we can show, we have some face down cards, we have some face up cards, we even have cards that go back to back. Find that break, and then you're gonna, when you peel that off, you're gonna put it back upside down, okay? So face down into face down, flip it. That's put you in the perfect position, and you have all the cards face up except for that one card, their selected card, the Jack of Diamonds. So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. That's a really good card trick. Again, it was developed by a Canadian magician named Di Vernon, so if you want to learn some more of his tricks, he's got tons of things out there in books, in published material. So I recommend highly looking into Di Vernon. He's a great magician, well respected among a lot of professional magicians. So if you're interested in magic, aside from just learning a trick here and there, Di Vernon would be someone to look into. Again, if you enjoy the videos, follow me on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, all over the place. Share my stuff with your friends so they can also learn some cool new tricks, and we'll see you next time.